I thought it was me. All right, well, here we go. Let's jump into it. Everyone, thank you for joining us here for this brief 30-minute webinar, kind of an introductory webinar to, well, as I would like to say, the future. Adam Carswell, joined by Michael Flight today, and another good friend of ours, Sam Hilali, who's going to hop on here and speak a little bit today. We are focusing on the topic, how blockchain is going to change real estate financing and debt moving forward. Obviously, we're living in some interesting times right now, and that gives us all plenty of time to research, share information, and get prepared for what's next. And as we kind of break the ice here, guys, I have to say, and Michael, you can kind of help paint the picture a little bit more clearly here. But I know Michael and I kind of started going down this blockchain and cryptocurrency, just this world about a little over a year ago when I was on the Bitcoin.com podcast, and we started going back and forth with some guys in Romania, and then next thing you know, Michael's making trips out there, doing his research, going to blockchain conferences in London, getting to know people around the US, and I'd say as well as myself, but really I'm following the leader here. Guys, Michael Flight is definitely going to be able to open up today, share with you what he's learned, maybe not even over the past year, but just really as this has become a more compelling topic. Michael, I know you said early on, even you were like a lot of people that are out there now, where you're kind of just scratching your head, kind of saying, what is blockchain? Is this really the future as so many people say it is? And now I think, especially with our team at Concordia and a few other people that we're working with, we've kind of come to the realization that, yeah, this actually is not only a thing, it is going to be a part of the future. And it's your choice now to either start educating yourself or just let it happen to you. And so we're taking a more proactive way in education. And so that's what brings us here. So Michael, I don't know if you want to share a little bit about your background or anything that I touched on, and kind of continue on from there.
Sure. Well, I've been in the real estate business for about 35 years, commercial real estate. We have typically specialized in shopping centers, and we've done everything from large malls to smaller deals. And then we, as a boutique firm, have done a lot of other products. So we're familiar with most commercial real estate assets. And as a side deal, myself and another partner have probably flipped over 150 houses. Haven't done that since 2013, too much work. But we, Adam and I, when we started working together, Adam also is involved with a startup country, and I've been involved with it too. It's called Liberland, and they're doing the entire country on a blockchain. And so through that, I've met a lot of great people that are super involved in the building blocks of the not only cryptocurrency, but the building blocks of EOS and Ethereum and some of those things. And so at some point, probably in around early 2019, maybe even late 2018, when I was talking to a friend of mine that actively trades in cryptocurrencies, I said, well, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how the cryptocurrency isn't just like fiat money, which is what you're trying to get away from. I said, why can't you back the currency or the cryptocurrency by a hard asset? So why can't you do the cryptocurrency backed by gold? Or better yet, why can't you take a portfolio of properties and back that portfolio by the hard asset? So that's when, or the coin, and they were still doing ICOs. And so once we started, investigating a lot more about it, we said, wow, not only is that it's a possibility, but this could actually open up liquidity. It could address a lot of things like individual investors being able to not only invest in an individual piece of real estate, but they could also invest in debt offerings that are traditionally for larger institutional investors. They could invest in as I said before, a portfolio, individual assets. They could kind of, diversify around the globe. And so this could be a big game changer. But I also, as we started doing more research, then the situation became more regulated. And so what was originally ICOs and things like that are now security token offerings. And so most of the big banks and a lot of the other larger guys are investigating this. And I think we're at the forefront of a new way of raising equity and debt, and it's going to be secured by tokens, and it's going to be secured by, and there's going to be regulation, and you have to conform if you're raising money in the United States by the SEC rules. So you can either do the regular 506. I can't remember what the things are, but you need to be an accredited investor. And we're also looking at raising money for foreign investment into the United States. And so that gets a little trickier because there's different tax issues with foreign investors in the United States. But there is a real easy way for foreign investors to participate in the United States real estate market, and that's through debt offerings. So those are some of the things that we find really exciting. And I'll kick it back to you and also Sam to talk a little bit more about it. Especially Sam, I met Sam through a cryptocurrency friend of mine, or I shouldn't say that, he's a blockchain architect. And so Sam really knows a lot more about it. Sam is also, very entrepreneurial and has started a few different high-tech companies. So Sam, why don't you explain a little bit about, what you saw with the market and how we're working together?
Sure thing. Appreciate it, Michael. Thank you for that introduction and that overview. So I first got involved in blockchain and crypto back in 2018, and I was working at Wells Fargo at the time, and I realized that there was an issue with settling checks. I was working at teller. This is while I was still in college, and I realized that checks usually take between three days to up to even 10 to 12 days, depending on how big the check is. And so I started looking at it, and I was trading a little bit of stocks, just a small amount of money, but I was frustrated with how long it took to settle my money, to settle the trade, excuse me. So I realized it was T+3, and it just didn't make any sense because, you could execute a trade and you immediately could, you get that stock immediately, but then when you go to sell it, it takes about 3 days to settle. So I started looking at different technologies, and I came across a article on EOS and blockchain and Bitcoin specifically as well. And so I started looking more into it, and that's really how I got into the space. And then fast forward about a year later, I was working on a project to automate the mortgage servicing industry, and I realized that it was a little bit too soon for that. The technology and regulation just wasn't there yet. But now, since then, there's been a lot of development in the architecture and KYC, AML stuff, and regulation and all that good stuff. But in terms of real estate, I think there's a huge opportunity to really bring down the barriers of entry and really increase the investor pool by really decentralizing the process, right? So right now, most real estate offerings or the substantial returns are being made by large institutional investors, private equity guys and gals. And I thought that, there's an opportunity where, retail investors should have access to those type of opportunities. And that's where I met Michael, and, we started talking about real estate and how to tokenize funds and tokenize the ownership of real assets to bring it onto the blockchain. And the reason why I think there's a need for that is because cryptocurrencies aren't really backed by anything, right? They're mostly, it's a utility, and the value, there's really not, it is, some of them are stores of value, but nothing is really backing that cryptocurrency for lack of a better word. So, I think that there's an opportunity to bring real earning assets onto the blockchain and create a security token marketplace where, real estate tokens are just like any other, security or like a private equity share, or and you can get distributions, and you automate the process as well.
Yeah, and like as I said, what I'd like to talk with the guys about and say, at some point the technology is just going to be the technology, and you're not really going to see that it's blockchain, and you're not going to care that it's blockchain. Right now, blockchain is closely associated with cryptocurrency, but there's all kinds of people doing all kinds of stuff, really exciting stuff. And at the end of the day, it's just basically a ledger. And so you're just going to get a whole lot of trust with smart contracts. You're going to be able to design that so that if you're putting together a fund, whether it's a debt fund, you're going to be able to slice it up, and somebody's going to be able to get, your A return. Somebody's going to be able to get your C tranche and stuff like that. So we just find a lot of excitement about it. And the reason why I've been a member of the Chicago Blockchain Real Estate Collective, I think for about the past year or so. They had some pretty good speakers, and when they were looking for somebody to take over the meetup, I said, I have some real good contacts that are actually doing a lot of stuff in the security token space, and a lot of good stuff in, with the ERC. I'm going to, mispronounce all this stuff, so Sam, but it's the ERC20 token and things like that. And we've actually been out there, talking with, some of the platforms that are actually listing assets right now, like Securitize, like Tokeny, like iStocks. And as Sam mentioned, but some of the great things, what's happening with liquidity, like the Tezos platform and different things like that, so that you might actually have a secondary market. So right now, in our real estate syndications, there is no real secondary market for the investor to exit out of there. And so we think that this technology is just going to open up a whole bunch of flexibility for not only investors, but also owners, developers, and people that are putting together financing instruments. So that's why we think we can bring some value by getting some really good guests that are actually doing stuff in the space now. So that this is kind of an introductory call to the meetup, and then we're going to try and have regular meetups and bring in different people that are doing offerings, that are doing a lot in the security token space, or have podcasts in the security token space. And so we believe that this is just the beginning of it, and it's going to blow up a lot.
Absolutely. And so I want to segue on that remark right there, Michael. And one thing I want to also let everyone else know, I had a great conversation earlier today with a guy named Adam Ernest. He's the creator of followmyvote.com. He's also a fellow Liberlandian of ours, super knowledgeable when it comes to blockchain. And I just want to let everyone who's watching now know that you now, just by being here, you are on the inside. I mean, Adam's like, anyone who's educating themselves on the business of blockchain, learning how to code, I mean, anything tied to this technology, 5 years from now is all you need to be continued immersement in the learning process is all you need to really be considered an expert in this industry. And I also want to say real briefly, Michael, if you could just touch on it before we get to some of the things we want to speak about today. Could you let everyone listening know just a little bit about Liberty Token Fund, which is a cool project that we started at Concordia? And then also, I should say, everyone listening, the final 10 minutes of this presentation, we plan on doing a Q&A, so go ahead and get your questions ready. We're going to do that through the chat box. Michael.
Yeah, so the whole reason why I got involved in this is, again, I saw that, how do you open up and democratize investing to, the world? And how can you bring more people in, more individual investors, and just a lot more people into the safety, security, and, cash flow and everything else that real estate provides. And I always, like to tell people that, aside from the derivatives market, the real estate market is probably your biggest market in the world. and it's basically untapped. And so if you could get it out there digitized, you can slice it and dice it, and then people can actually participate in it. They can get equity from it. So we started with that, and we started putting together a diversified fund of triple net deals, which would be single tenant, triple net deals diversified across the United States, in growth states. And we also wanted them to be internet proof, and we wanted them to be recession proof. And so right now our four key industries are drugstores, dollar stores, automotive services, and medical, what we call medtail. And so we're putting that to get into a portfolio, and those have performed remarkably well during this downturn, because all of them, except some of the automotive and some of the medical, have been deemed essential services. So we think that going forward, it's going to be a great, safe play for people that want to put their money into U.S. real estate. And then eventually the idea, the big, audacious goal, if you will, is to, really diversify worldwide, and not only with our investor base, but also with our investments. So that's the shameless plug that we've got. But through that, it's been a great learning thing, and I've been exposed to a bunch of people that I think we can bring to this collective to add a lot of value and update us on the latest developments that's going on.
And I don't know if you want to elaborate as well, maybe a little bit. I know Sam is kind of our technical guy here on this call. Is there anything that you found in Sam, or that we've done over the past year with Sam, that you're kind of like, or that's a valuable skill to have? That's something that others in this industry should work on. And then I guess, Sam, you could probably elaborate on that too.
As I tell everybody, I'm not really a detail guy, so I don't know what the valuable skills are. I just do the marketing and know the real estate stuff. But I'm joking around. But I would say that no matter what, even if you're in technology, the biggest skill for anybody is sales. So you've got to also sell yourself and sell your thing. But I have really, even though I've been exposed to the technology and know it, I really can't add value in that type of, with that question. So I'm sorry to say.
No worries at all, Sam. Before we get to the Q&A, I'm just going to ask you here real quickly. Was there anything within Michael's, before that last anything he touched on that you're able to maybe go in a little bit more detail about, maybe any buzzwords for all of our nerds that are here on the call?
Sure. So, first and foremost, there's several different moving pieces when you talk about tokenizing an asset or tokenizing a fund, and whether it's which blockchain you use, which custodian you use, which exchange you go with. I think you really have to understand that right now we're still in the beginning phase of all this. There hasn't been too many projects that have actually come to fruition yet. They're in the process right now, but I think right now the biggest thing is learning about where the most liquidity is in these platforms, and really looking ahead, 3-5 years down the road, and what's going to drive that liquidity. And to be able to get that, I think we really need, as Michael said, you need to have a platform where users don't even know that there's a blockchain really transacting in the background or making all this happen. And I think that's what's really going to drive mass adoption and take it to the next level.
All right, thank you, Sam. Well, we're going to go ahead and start the Q&A now. I've got a few questions already coming in here. Had Alper come through here first. Alper's question to, we'll say Sam or Michael, you guys kind of feel this one out and see who wants to take it. So what are some good blockchain and blockchain and real estate resources to read up on? Where are you guys getting your information?
That's a good question. One of the really good websites out there, and you can get on their mailing list, is the Security Token Academy. And they have a weekly update of security tokens, some of the stuff that's happening in the industry. I attended and I hopefully will be attending more of them, Security Token Realized, and they put on different shows, and they're not only concentrating in real estate, but all types of finance. So that's been very good. And then there's another podcast out there. Man, I can't remember what the name of it is, but they not only run through, these are all newer because the security tokens are so new. So there's a lot of blockchain podcasts out there and some of the stuff. But I'm trying to think of, and I'll if there's a place to post it later, once I'll give you the name of the other one. And they just basically go through all security tokens. They've got a website that updates all the new security token offerings. They're not solely focused on real estate either. So they'll talk about, there was an NBA player that securitized his contract, which was really cool. And then there's all kinds of other, exciting things around security tokens, not just with real estate. I think Fatburger came out and they did a token offering. I think it was a bond offering. There's some really good stuff happening over in Europe. They're in, especially in Luxembourg. There's a number of different companies that are doing real estate. There was a large transaction where they took a German building. Most of the tokenizations so far have been individual assets, and we haven't necessarily seen a fund put together. So that's why it's been much more complex for us to put together the fund and to set up the legal structure in the United States, and then set that up for foreign investors to invest in that. So, but those are a few of the things. And Alper, if we could put it out to the people, I definitely will. And good to see you out here, Alper, too.
Yeah, and just to add to that, first the transaction, that building that was tokenized in Europe, it's most of these offerings are debt offerings right now, and we're more interested in the equity side because I think that it's a better opportunity for everyone involved. But of course, some people are fans of debt offerings and getting those interest payments and a guaranteed return. But a couple more resources. I think a good one is CoinDesk. Another one is stomarket.com, and there's Decrypt, and one more is called The Block. And let me know if you'd like to follow up on that. I'd be happy to give you some more resources as well. But that's what I'm coming up with on top of that.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam. And we got some really good questions coming through here too. So if we don't get to all of them, I think we'll probably do our best to reach out to those who don't get answered. Next one here is from Jim Morales. The value prop of blockchain is removing intermediaries and therefore lowering transaction costs. Won't people resist being disintermediated in the syndication space?
I think there's certain people that will be concerned about disintermediated, but those are the people that are doing most of their stuff through broker-dealer offerings. So, and the broker-dealers are, in a lot of situations, getting disintermediated already because, but a lot of the larger syndicators still use broker-dealers. A lot of the syndicators that we work with, I don't see that there would be a disintermediation because they're working with their direct list of investors. And so you're still going to need somebody that knows how to operate an asset, and you're still going to need somebody that knows how to put together a deal. So I liken it more to, it's probably going to be closer to the crowdfunding model. And there are, as we talked about earlier, Tokenized, Securitize, iStocks, Harbor. These are platforms that you would list your offering on, and they are basically your broker dealer for selling it. So it's just that with the tokens, they should get, and there should be a lot less friction involved with selling it. So that's the disintermediation on the direct syndication route is probably going to be the other broker dealers that right now are selling the larger syndications. But it should reduce fees.
Great. Thank you, Michael. And Paul Crooker, I see your question. I think we'll be able to address that one hopefully quickly. So I'm going to fast forward to Gene's question. And this is again for Michael or Sam. You guys decide. Actually, I guess this would be more of a question from Michael. Sam, feel free to fill in the gap. What is your time frame for the fund you were talking about, Liberty Token?
We had hoped to get the fund up and do an offering around August, and we still think we can do that. What has slowed us down is the actual legal and accounting setup of getting, as we said, individual foreign investors into investing in U.S. real estate. So we're still trying to figure out the optimum mix of that. We might just, in order to do the token and make it work, we might have to do a debt offering on that part of it. But we are still working out, because what we really want to do is sell equity and offer people equity in a solid portfolio of U.S. real estate. And the other way that we can split that is we can do possibly a Reg A token offering in the United States with equity and a debt offering for the rest of the world. And that way it might work successfully. But we're still trying to figure out the exact way to do that. It's a moving target right now because it is a little bit more complex to do one of the first ones. And we're assuming it'll be much easier after a few of them are done.
And Michael, is it too early to address areas such as the size or the structure of the fund?
Right now, we are looking at an initial $30 million offering. If we do a debt and equity offering, it might be $30 million of debt and $30 million of equity. So we're still trying to play around with that. The great news is we've got the portfolio all pieced together. We know how that stuff moves. We've got the acquisitions team down. So we're ready to go as soon as we can get the structure worked out.
And speaking of the number 30 million, this might be our last question here. If anyone has any more, please feel free to shoot them in right now. And I think I've heard of this. Sam, I want to hear your take on this. The tokenization of a 30 million Manhattan real estate project. This project was announced in 2018. Are you familiar with it? Do you know its status by chance?
Yeah, so I'm actually familiar with that project. It actually fell through the cracks because the issuer did not get approval from their lender to transfer the asset. They had a clause in there, and I can't remember the name of the clause. I think it was the transfer clause, and they actually didn't get approval from the lender, and even the issuing platform didn't even look at the loan document. So that actually that one is a dead project essentially.
All right, and here we go. I think I got one more coming in. All right, guys, here we go. Last question, and then we're going to close this out. So we got more questions about Liberty Token, Michael. So here we go. Are the investments for the fund in the Chicagoland area? I know you mentioned the asset types, multifamily.
I'll just address that right away.
Sure.
We will not be doing any investments in Illinois. I happen to live in Illinois, and Illinois is basically a failed state. So most of the investments that we're doing are in the smile states. So everything from Maryland, Virginia, and on down through Florida and over to Nevada. We're looking for growth. We're looking for low regulation. We're looking for successful states. And the main issue with Chicago is the real estate taxes, and you know, still owning commercial property in real estate here in the Chicago area. I don't know why anybody would want to do that, even at some of the stuff now. I'm just saying, there are people that are very positive on Chicago. I don't see, you know, that it's going to be a really great place to invest. So our partner Jason is down in Austin, and we want to do a lot of stuff in Florida, South Carolina, and you know, Texas, Nevada, all those places, because they welcome investment. They're really good to investors, and the growth is just phenomenal. We really, you know, what we like is the growth, and that's what really drives, you know, whether it's going to be a good investment or a bad investment. So and especially this thing on the state of Illinois, if we even get to an election this year, that they want to do a graduated income tax, that's just going to be like Governor Pritzker waving people out the door saying, thank you very much. You know, if you've got any money, you should leave now. So, and then we're only doing retail type of assets. We won't be doing office or industrial or multifamily. Our specialty is in retail. We know that space the best, and the type of retail that we are looking at, as I said before, is something that's not going to get disintermediated by the internet, and has proven successful even during this crisis.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. This webinar is going to be available on replay through the Concordia Realty YouTube channel. Also, we recommend, if you haven't already, to join our meetup, the Chicago Blockchain Real Estate Collective. You can reach out to myself, Michael, or Sam for that. Any closing words, Michael or Sam? I guess we'll start with Sam, finish with Michael, and then we'll be done. Sam, any closing words?
Yeah, so first off, thanks everyone for joining today. Appreciate you taking the time. I just wanted to say, you know, this is our first meetup since at least I've been a part of the group, and you know, Michael has, you know, started to lead this meetup. But I think we want to better understand where you guys are in terms of how much you guys know about the technology, your background, what you guys are looking for in terms of content, and the direction you guys want to take this group. And you know, we welcome your feedback, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to second what Sam just said. We are looking for a collaborative thing so that it's educational for everybody. We really want to bring in some great speakers. We want to bring in some great educators. We want to bring in some leading edge people that are going to talk about how the technology is changing, talk about how they're doing their specific deals, and all the rest of it. So if you guys, you know, I'm sorry I said guys, because it's what I normally do. I need to go with the Southern y'all. But if anybody has anybody that they recommend, or they want topics that they think we can address, we do have a really great network, and we're always looking to expand that network. So you want to suggest somebody, or if you just you know, think that you've got a topic and we can put the right person in, let us know, because we really want the feedback and want to make sure that this is collaborative and participatory.
Thank you, Michael. Guys, I just put my email address in the chat box too. If you want to hurry up and copy paste that, feel free to send me any follow-up questions that you have. We'll get you connected. Thank you for joining us for our first webinar of the Chicago Blockchain Real Estate Collective. I'm Adam Carswell. I was joined by Michael Flight, Sam Halawi, and there's some other really remarkable people here on this call. So we look forward to seeing you guys in the next webinar. We'll keep you posted on that. Thank you, and have a great evening, and happy May 1st tomorrow.
Thank you.